Good morning, non-humans and humans alike, because I know you're all watching this. This is the Desert Shaman, Thunder, with the Red Road channel. The title of this video is For the Love of Mother, and I have a illustration here that I'm going to put on the screen, which is the thumbnail as well. And this really struck me. This really did strike me. And actually, what really struck me is I have a calendar with this actual photograph. This is a painting. But I didn't have time to take a picture of the calendar and go through all that stuff. So I came up with a painting of an orangutan, most likely, in the gorilla family. And I saw this picture with the look on the mother's face, a smile, with her young one in her arms. The other picture I saw was the young one was on her shoulder with its arms wrapped around her neck, and just this loving, compassionate, caring look in the mother's eyes. And I thought instantly about how beautiful nature was and about how beautiful the natural love was in the family of the animal kingdom. And you'll find this in everything. I mean, wolf cubs with their mother, and horses, and cats, and just about every animal on this earth has this kind of natural flow, this natural instinct to love and protect. And I thought, wow, that is just a perfect reflection of Mother Earth. And Mother Earth is called many names, and I'm going to talk about that today because this video basically is about Mother Earth, but I'm going to touch on a lot of other subjects as I go along. I sometimes comment on world affairs and what's going on the planet, because everything affects the planet. Everything is part of that planetary consciousness. And so So I'm going to talk about all kinds of interrelated things today. The first thing I want to talk about is I just did a video on 2 techniques that, if done correctly, will change your consciousness big time, big time. And I noticed that I didn't get one comment. I got a couple of thousand viewers, a little over that, which for me is doesn't matter how many viewers I have, because I'm not doing this just to get subscriptions and be a famous guy on the internet and all that stuff, because I dropped that expectation a long time ago when I was starting to get shadow banned for everything I was saying. And once you get that mark on your record, they never let you get to the point of thousands and thousands of viewers in a very short amount of time. And so I just accept that. And I accept my mission as a practicing shaman. Yes, I am. And a practicing yogi, and just somebody that has been into consciousness raising and getting your consciousness to a higher frequency for many, many years. And, I can hear a lot of people, well, if you're a shaman, you don't have to say it. Well, really, I do. I do have to say it, because why not? I mean, look at what's out there today in, let's say, the ufology or the UFO community or the UAP community. All they're talking about right now is consciousness, and consciousness in regards to contacting unidentified phenomena, let's say, in the skies. And they seem to focus on just wanting to see, wanting the government, okay, to reveal to us that there is such a thing. That right there is kind of, and no offense intended to some of these young people that are exploring this route or going down this road. There's a lot of young people out there that I highly respect, who are very sincere, like Pavel on Psychotivo. He's got a channel, and he follows this stuff, but he's bordering on coming in on the other end of it too, on the consciousness level. So I appreciate people like that. I appreciate, but you know what? Some of these people that are out there need to go to the old guard. They need to go to the wisdom keepers. They need to go to people that have been in this for decades and decades, like myself, who have been practicing all kinds of consciousness-raising techniques, the deepest that there are on the face of the earth. Like I have said before, I was initiated into Kriya Yoga, which other famous people have been initiated into. I shouldn't say other famous because I'm not famous, but famous people like Gandhi, peacemakers, have had this initiation. And people think, oh, that's just about meditation, man. That's just sitting in a position and meditating and thinking and reflecting. No, it goes way, way beyond that. It goes way, way beyond that. Let me emphasize that. It's not just about meditation. It's about movement of energy and raising of consciousness and activating a certain flow in your body, which allows you to ascend and descend. And there's other things that are involved that do the same thing, that have been known to do the same thing. I'm getting a little interference today electronically, so I'm just going to pause this a second. I've been getting a little electronic interference from the universe. There's a lot of stuff going on a lot of levels. But back to what I was saying about raising your consciousness through age-old ancient techniques, like kriya, like shamanism, like yoga. Yoga means union. Like different techniques. So in my last video, I presented 2 techniques that are just unbelievably awesome if you do them correctly. And it will put you into an alternate reality or an alternate sense base or worldview. Let's put it that way. It will put you into an alternate worldview. So I can't understand for the life of me why people that view that video at least won't comment on it and say, you know what? I tried this out and man, this is mind-blowing. That tells me that they either don't try it out or they don't have enough brain cells or enough attention span to watch the video and watch the instruction from beginning to end and actually try it out and then report back. you would think that if I gave you two techniques that are from ancient traditions that have a proven track record of changing your consciousness, and this can be done in like a half an hour. I mean, people meditate for years and years and years, and they might not even get to where these two techniques will take you. So I encourage you to go back if you're new to this channel, or if you're a regular subscriber, that you go back and look at it and go through the exercise. Because if you want to raise your consciousness, if you want to, like the UFO crowd out there, the people in the UFO community, if you want to raise your consciousness, let's not just talk about it. How about going to the old guard or the wisdom keepers like myself, who've been doing this for years and decades, and decades, and say, hey, now they will go to people, they will make the rounds of people out there on the circuit, the UFO circuit, and they talk to people like Chris Bledsoe, and they talk to other people that supposedly have had experiences, and I'm not doubting that they have experiences. But they want instant gratification, and a lot of these people either want to have that instant consciousness or that instant conscious contact with, let's say, non-human intelligence, or let's say the Star Nation, or let's say the phenomenon, all right? And that's exactly what it is. It's phenomenon and it's phenomenal. And it's all around us right now in droves. So when these people on the UFO channels, the young people, and again, I really highly admire some of the work they're doing in pursuing some of the things that they're pursuing, and it seems to all be melding into one. The consciousness factor came up. Well, maybe that's meant to be. Maybe that's a good thing about maybe the UFO disclosure thing is bringing forth somehow the fact that people need to look at consciousness. Excuse me. But it's real easy to talk about consciousness and consciousness raising and enlightenment and psionics, which now has been labeled neuromeditation. That's almost laughable, but I'll just let that one slip by. Neuromeditation, mind meditation, neurology, having to do with the mind, having to do with the brain. You can give it any label you want, but shamans and meditators and yogis have been doing this stuff since ancient times. Here's another thing too. I did a video on Tantra yoga right before the video on the two techniques that would raise your consciousness or change your worldview immediately. And Tantra yoga has to do with sexual union and using that to raise your consciousness and using that to improve your relationship with your significant other. And this stuff is all just getting bypassed. I do have a feeling that since day one, a long time ago when I was flagged and shadow banned and given threats for other things that I have talked about on YouTube, this is just permanent. They're not going to let me get any more subscribers than just a few more, a month. And I'm trying to get out there urgent information. Got that interference coming in. I can hear it in my headphones again. Maybe the Star Brothers are trying to send me a message. But the point I'm trying to make here is that consciousness, and let's say planetary consciousness, is very, very, very relevant, let's say, to the matters at hand in the world and what's happening in the world right now. So another point I want to make is that in order to know all this stuff to a certain degree and how it might correlate, you have to study different things, different traditions, different cultures, different spiritual practices, ancient spiritual practices, ancient history. You have to connect the dots. You have to connect the dots of indigenous people of this land, the natives of this land, and their association, their deep, deep association with the Star Nation. You have to jump into the mystery school subject of ancient Egypt. You have to delve into the technology of back then of different places like the pyramids in Giza and other ancient archaeological ruins, and even archaeological ruins right here in North America like Chaco Canyon and Canyon de Chelly and even Meteor Crater in Monument Valley, which is my old stomping grounds where I was raised in Arizona. But you have to connect the dots and you have to get some knowledge about all these different forms of consciousness raising and techniques and thoughts on these techniques and where they derive from and the different various cultures and civilizations. And you have to look at the big picture. Why do you have to look at the big picture? Because so you don't get duped. You don't get duped, okay, by sensationalism, by a dog and pony show, so we got all kinds of stuff going on. And I admit, some of these people, before I started checking out the UFO side, which I've been talking about for years in the Star Brother and Star Nation, but I come from a shamanistic angle. I don't come from all these characters that are on the scene right now. So I did a deep dive into it just to see who's out there, and people like Luis Elizondo and David Grush and Bledsoe and Jake Barber and Ross Colehart and the UAP committees and Arrow, and the list goes on and on and on. And most of it is, my suspicions are this, okay, most of this is being revealed or in conjunction with, and I think Pavel, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, is into some of this and has suspicions about it as a young guy. There's just some problem I have with the fact that all this disclosure stuff about UFOs and UAPs and orbs and just the whole ball of wax is surrounded, it seems to be attached to either some kind of government whistleblower coming out like David Grush or Jake Barber or somebody like that. It's coming from the military or the government, okay? It's in connection with it somehow, all right? Ask me if I trust the government. Ask me if I trust the same government that committed genocide on the indigenous peoples of this land. Ask me if I trust a government that is still committing genocide on indigenous peoples in other lands around the world today. And that brings me to the topic of world affairs and the dichotomy that you see going on right now. But getting back to the UFO, and I'll touch on that too, getting back to the UFO thing and the government association with it. This is a perfect example. This could be a perfect example of the powers to be behind the scenes controlling a rollout of like an alien invasion. Now, an alien invasion doesn't actually have to be like aliens coming in, green men, and the Greys and the reptilians and, you know, the Nordics and all this stuff coming in from out of nowhere and, you know, just appearing. You know, you really got to think about all the bullshit that's out there and all the stuff that's of entertainment value and all the stuff that is like maybe put out there to take your mind off of what you really should be concentrating on. And maybe your mind should really be concentrating on planetary Tantra and Tantra union, weaving. That's what I said in my last, a weaving of the energies on the planet and your energies within and your biometrics and your spirituality and weaving of your spirituality in with the higher consciousness of Mother Earth. Unsi Maka, as she is called in Lakota, and then you have the Gnostic tradition, which calls her Sophia, and you have people that have gone to extreme research and knowledge concerning that, like my good friend John Lamb Lash, who wrote Not in His Image. And there's other authors, William Bramley on the Gods of Eden, and there's a whole different take on, let's say, what the energy of these beings could be, because everybody's saying, well, are they malevolent or are they benevolent? Well, in order to find that kind of stuff out, you have to do research and you have to look at history and you have to look at all angles. You have to look at the Book of Enoch. You have to look at writings on the origins of, let's say, Christianity. You have to look at all kinds of things that could be related. The origins of the ancient cultures of the Anasazi people, the origins of the Egyptian people, the origins of all kinds of different people in different lands and what kind of experiences they have had and how this correlates with maybe the mythological gods and the Anunnaki and the star beings that are often talked about by the Hopi people and the Lakota people. Those are things that you need to look into. And you need to look into belief systems and how they affect the general populace. But make no mistake about it. Make no mistake about it. This ufology and the UFOs and the Star Nation and the orbs in the skies, all is having to do with a belief system. And what belief system does that threaten the most? Well, it threatens the fundamentalist belief system. It affects the Christian belief system. It affects the Islamic belief system. Anything to do with the Abrahamic religions and Judeo-Christian and Judaism and Islam and all that stuff stems from the same place, Abraham, all right? The father Abraham. and his association with Melchizedek. And so that's why it's really important to read books like Not in His Image by John Lamlash, who does a deep dive into this, or Lawrence Wilkerson, I think is another one. Maybe I got that name wrong. But he was from the Knights Templar and wrote several books on the different takes concerning Jesus. And then again, you have the Gnostic take on this whole thing, and from the Nag Hammadi finds. How many of you have read the Nag Hammadi scriptures, the alternate Gnostic scriptures that were banned by the Catholic Church? And why were they banned by the Catholic Church? Well, because the Catholic Church is part of the problem. They have been for many, many years. They're deep and dark. If you just look at the arena, the stadium in which the Pope appears sometimes indoors, you got a roof that looks like scales off of a serpent with two eyes. All right. And you got a god-awful sculpture in the background that looks demonic, that's supposed to be Jesus Christ. And you got the Catholic Church with observatories in Arizona, which is where I'm from, advanced observatories named Lucifer. So you have to realize about belief systems. You have to realize what the agenda was from the very beginning regarding Christian belief systems. And the Savior's Son, and dying on the cross, and repenting, and having guilt, and having fear, from the dogmatic, systematic, destructive teachings of that whole ilk, okay? Because when you do a deep dive into the Bible, you find out that nothing is as it seems, all right? And you start unearthing things, and you start digging into archaeology, and you start digging into actual history surrounding, let's say, the god Yahweh, who was a warrior, a tribal god of kind of like fire, kind of an insignificant god, but now Yahweh is the king of the Bible. He's God, all right? And then you have to dive into things like how Yahweh and El Shaddai from the ancient Sumerian culture in the God that appeared to Abraham, how all that's connected and how they fused into one thing. And you have to dive into where did actually the scriptures come from, the early Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, the old translation as opposed to the new translation, the codexes, and what they're actually saying, and where did they get that information from? Well, they got it from ancient Sumeria. If you dive into it, you find that when the Jews were in captivity, I think it was around 581, or I can't remember the exact time there. They were in captivity in Babylon, and they were under oppression, but Babylon also had huge libraries of ancient knowledge that these scribes and Pharisees, or these scribes that wrote the books of the Bible, went to create their own theology. And what was their agenda behind it, and what was their agenda behind the monotheistic worship of one God, as opposed to polytheistic worship of several gods, including goddesses, Ashtoreth, You have to dive into all this stuff so that, they're all pieces of the puzzle that have to be put together. And as you're diving into all this stuff, you also have to dive into the spiritual side or the metaphysical side of all these different cultures, let's say. You have to dive into some of the ancient practices and try to find out what some of these ancient practices were endeavoring to do as far as like approaching things on a higher level instead of a mundane physical level. Getting a lot of stuff off my chest today. So when I go on and I see specific channels, let's say concentrating just on the news and the war in Iraq and Iran and the world geopolitics and politics and geopolitics, and I see that on one side, and then on the other side I see the UFO community and the UAP. There is a strong dichotomy here, in case you didn't notice that. Or maybe it's related in a way, but it seems to be a dichotomy. Because a lot of people that are into the UFO and UA community and things like this, whether they know it or not, they're seekers and searchers that want some kind of new reveal. And why do they want the new reveal? To make them feel more at ease with maybe there's something more to life than the mundane existence and the mundane, let's say, organized religions and the mundane politics of the world and the mundane wars of the world. War, war, war. And isn't it all a war? I mean, a war of the worlds, basically, a war of the consciousness, a war of revealing and not revealing. Oh, we're going to reveal it. Oh, no, we're not going to reveal it. Oh, there's going to be disclosure of this. It's all so silly. It's all really a game. It doesn't make sense at all. Let's jump to geopolitics for a second, talking about not making sense. I hate to mention anybody's name in politics, because I hate to give it any kind of power whatsoever, so I will just touch on it briefly. But I follow this stuff like a hawk as well. Trump, with his tariff thing, and Trump with his saying that he's going to be the president of peace, and then ramping up all kinds of military activity and movement of ships and planes and aircraft carriers, and bombing the Houthis in Yemen, and threatening Iran with the basic premise of the threat to Iran is they just can't have nuclear weapons. Let me tear that dog and pony show, that narrative, to pieces right before your very eyes. If you're reasonable, if you know how to think lucidly, if you are aware. So let me use let me go to my storytelling ability here, and let me comment on that whole situation. Okay, so point one, all right? Oh, we're so afraid of Iran getting a nuclear weapon. You got all kinds of people with nuclear weapons on the planet. I mean, borderline psychos, including Israel, the United States, Pakistan, India. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on about all these different world leaders who have nuclear weapons that could destroy the world 20 times over. Could destroy the world in a heartbeat. You could wake up tomorrow and not be here. And you're worried about one more guy, one more nation, who's probably been more level-headed than a lot of these nations and is the cradle of civilization, incidentally, that whole area, Iran and Iraq, is the cradle of civilization, ancient tribal peoples. And you're going to tell me that if one more person gets nukes, that it's going to change the complexion of the world? Hello? That's like saying if you throw a match into a burning fireplace, a little tiny match, the fireplace is already burning and roaring and hot. If you throw a little match in there, all of a sudden things are going to explode and they're just going to, it's the end of the world if nukes fall into the hands of Iran. Get a life. What a pretense for a globalistic grasping of power by Israel in conjunction with America, who is savagely killing hundreds of thousands of innocent Palestinians, indigenous people again, tribal people, just like in America. And then you got the ongoing forever war in Ukraine, okay? And the EU and the, this and that, and we got to protect Ukraine, which is the biggest, set of grifters and propagandists and thieves and thugs and Nazis that are on the face of the planet, basically. Well, there's a close race here between them and the Zionists in Israel, or the Zionists that control America. But let me make one point here. These people have no consideration for Mother Earth or the love of Mother. The love of Mother. The love of our Mother. The love of our Mother Earth. Unsi Maka, Sophia, Gaia. The natural order of things. They're blowing up rockets. They're sending hypersonic missiles. They're introducing all kinds of new warfare and all kinds of new mechanical devices to blow up Mother Earth, to blow up the environment, to blow up our home. So if you think this isn't all related, I got another thing for you. I'll sell you the Brooklyn Bridge. I'll sell you some swampland down in Florida. This is all connected. This is all chaos. This is all a ramping up and a tape loop over and over and over again. The war. I asked somebody today, I went on Daniel Davis because he's one of the guys, Daniel Davis and the Duran, and man, I could name them all, Judge Napolitano, constantly having guys on there talking about the war, what's going to happen next, where's this going, where's that going, and all the time that they're talking, they don't have a freaking clue. Because when they're talking, what are they making their money on? What is their show based on? Their show's based on making money off talking about war. How does that make them any different than the military-industrial complex? Who makes money off of war? But yet they gain notoriety, and they gain notoriety as journalists, and they gain notoriety as ex-military people, ex-CIA, and all these people that are commenting continually, saying the same things over and over and over, and you get headlines, you get clickbait headlines. Yemen slams aircraft carrier, and then you click on there and you can find no evidence of Yemen slamming an aircraft carrier yes, they're giving him a hard time with things that are being shot down. And if there is a slamming of an aircraft carrier, you're not going to see it because it's going to be covered up with lies. You're not going to see any of the stuff that's going on the ground in Ukraine or in the air in Israel. There's all a lid on it. Oh, Israel doesn't allow pictures. This country won't allow pictures. This, you can't see this, and you can. So it's really not true journalism what these people are doing. It's fear porn. Because if it was real journalism, they could dig this stuff up and they could go, oh yeah, here's a picture, and we got this news, and hey, this aircraft carrier sunk, and hey, here's a picture of this and that concerning the war. But that's all blacked out, people. That's all blacked out. So basically what they're doing is sitting there talking for hours and hours, okay, about nothing. About the arguments between, like, the diplomats of the different organizations and the diplomats of the EU and the diplomats of America and there is no diplomacy here. There are no true leaders. Get that through your thick skull. This is all a dog and pony show. And then, and then on the UAP side, you got excuses like, well, the reason that we can't reveal things like our advanced technology or our reverse engineered technology or what we have in the way, what we know about UAPs and UFOs and all this stuff. The reason that we can't reveal it is because we're under an order of secrecy. We can't talk about it. Luis Elizondo, all of them. Oh, I can't go there. I can't talk. All ex-military people. So, it's a joke. It's a joke. It's all. This is somehow all connected, you see. It could be a type of false alien invasion of the mind. Okay? Of the mind. Let's put stuff out there to preoccupy these people's minds. Never mind that you can go there direct with a higher raising of your consciousness. Never mind that you can talk to the cosmos. You can be at one, just like the indigenous people of this land have known for thousands and thousands of years through their ritual and sacred rites. And even the people in Australia, the Aborigine people over there and the indigenous people over there. It's laughable that you have to focus in, and this is for all the people in the UFO community, it's mind excitation. It's will they or won't they? Will they or won't they? Are they going to tell us today? Let's run around like little children begging to be told about something that if you really knew, you would know it already exists. It is the Star Nation, and it is a bunch of other things as well. Included within that Star Nation are what we would call malevolent beings like the Archons from the ancient Gnostic scriptures. And if you dive into that, you find out that they're a splatter effect and an error in creation as creation was being born. So there's those entities, and then you got other entities possibly from another galaxy or another set of star nations that could be advanced beyond belief and are of benevolent nature and have the planet and its care of it, or let's say the proper care of the planet in their mind. Otherwise, why would they be hanging around nuclear facilities? I mean, I'm ranting today, and I'm glad I am. even if just for my own entertainment, let's say. But it really gets me that people can come to this channel and I can offer them instruction and do a reveal to them, talk to them on a lucid level, on a connecting the dots level, on a spiritual level, on the big picture level, and they just want to stay on here for 5 minutes or 2 minutes, and because they don't see a bunch of pretty pictures, or maybe they don't see a bunch of babble and drabble and jaw flapping about all the latest stuff that's going on in the community, this and that. It's mind excitation. And what happens if you found out tomorrow? It's like getting a new toy. Okay, it's like getting a new toy. In Paramahansa Yogananda, the great yogi of the Kriya tradition, which I was initiated into, speaks about mind excitation. And he also speaks about the world being basically a movie, a horror show, with all kinds of graphic mutilations and killings and whatever. The screen that's not real. But he also spoke of mind excitation. And what is mind excitation? Your mind gets excited. It's a fixer. It's the fixer part of your mind. You have the depressor, and then you have the fixer. And I'm going to get into that. That's a follow-up of the video that I did on the 2 techniques, and you should watch that, about coming to your senses, bridging, being in presence, using splatter vision. But also within the workings of the mind is sometimes your worst enemy because you have the depressor and the fixer. And so mind excitation is none other than the fixer. And the fixer does things like, if you're depressed, well, I can fix that. Something comes up and says, I can fix that. Let's get a new toy. Let's get this. Let's do this. Let's concentrate on this. Let's get excited about this. But what happens when you get this? What happens when you get your new telescope or your new car or your new set of clothes or your new furniture or your new toy? What happens after you have it about a week? Well, you're not so excited about it anymore, are you? Kind of just, it's on to the next thing. The depressor comes in and depresses you because you don't have more, or you want something else. And so you strive to get that something else, which is an illusion. It doesn't bring happiness. It brings temporary excitement of the mind and uplifts you for a minute or two, or a week or two. But after that, it's like old news, okay? So what is it going to be if you get a disclosure and a reveal about UAPs and UFOs? Is it going to be your new religion? Are you going to say to yourself, well, they're going to save us because they're going to bring us new technology and zero-point energy, and the whole thing is going to open up into a panacea of love and peace and light? Really, people? That's like saying Jesus Christ is going to come down as your Savior on a cloud and the angels are all going to come in. And a lot of people have been waiting for that for, what, eons and decades? And how long have they been waiting for that? The return of the Christ, the return of the angels and the 144,000 and the rapture and all that stuff. How is this that much different? How is this a religion? Is this like a different form of religion? Let's transition you from the old religion to the new religion. The government, the powers to be. We got a new generation here. We can hook them in to this UFO thing. And they will look at it like, once we know the truth, oh, that's going to just change everything. Now, I'm not here to destroy people's hopes, okay, in that regard. But I have evidence from my own downloads and from my own communication and from my own research and from my own study and from my own meditation and from my own shamanistic practices that it goes beyond this. This is a spiritual entity war going on. It's a dominion war. And if you go back and look at ancient history, you can check it out with the Sumerians and the flood and this faction and that faction. But here's one thing about this. You can't go wrong with raising your consciousness. That's the point in being in tune with the Planetary Tantra, the cosmos, Mother Earth, the sun, the stars, the sky, the supernatural, the nature, and then the supernature or the supernatural. You can't go wrong there. Why? Because soon you get to the point of enlightenment, or let's say on a very high frequency, and you realize that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. It's about your soul, your spirit, your connection with other souls and other spirits, and the tuning in and realization of self, okay, and how that really doesn't exist, but pure awareness does. So we have all these things arising out of pure awareness, all right? You have awareness, you have the source, you have the creative source of the universe, which is comprised of dual. When it gets down to this level, it's a duality, and it manifests as a duality. But it's just like a picture show on the screen. And you're not who you think you are. You're the screen. You're not your person, your body. This illusion of objectivity and subjectivity, you're not that. You're the screen. The projection. You are the creator of your own world. So what are you putting out there? What are you putting out there? What kind of nonsense are you putting out there? Or are you putting out something that's going to be beneficial to humans and the anthropos and mankind? Because I'll tell you right now, you have to listen to Mother Earth, because Mother Earth is telling us on so many levels. We got earthquakes all over the place. We got sunspots. I recently saw a sunspot that came up, and it's been the biggest sunspot. I won't say it's a what's the other term I'm looking for? A coronal hole. That's the term I'm looking for. A coronal hole came around the planet into appearance. And this hasn't been seen for decades and decades, if it's ever been seen this big. Well, it has been seen, thousands of years past maybe. But this coronal hole, or the black part that comes around and separates and there's no fire, guess what it was an exact picture of? I should have got it, I should have put it up here, maybe in my next video. A thunderbird. A raptor with its wings spread, and a beak and a tail. You couldn't have painted a better picture of a raptor or a thunderbird or the Wakanyan. I saw that and I went, whoa, whoa. Here is a actual projection from the cosmos giving us an omen. And Wakanyan stands for Sapa, the spirit direction of the West. The Wakanyan, the thunderbirds, the thunder beings, and what do they bring? They bring storms. They bring thunder, they bring storms, they bring clouds, and they bring change. And so you got the sun with half of it filled up with the picture of a thunderbird all of a sudden, and it's perfect. This happened about 2 weeks ago when all kinds of changes, the end of March, and all kinds of changes where everything was in retrograde, like Mercury in retrograde and the planets aligning and the eclipses and all that stuff. So bottom line, it's for the love of Mother Earth. Get indigenous in your heart. Go back to the real roots and the real practices and the real shamanism and the smoking of the Chanupa and the sun dance and the Tantra yoga and kriya yoga, and because it's all related. It's all the same thing. The ancient spiritual practices that transcend consciousness are all related. Quit busying yourself with the UAP and the world politics and the geopolitics. It's all an illusion. And if you do choose to go with a certain topic like UAPs or the disclosure thing or whatever, don't get focused in on the mundane government. There's a great guy that I looked at, used to watch, and he's radical. A guy named Mark Passio. I don't know if he's still on the internet, but he used to have a famous saying, order followers. Order followers, cops, anybody in the government, right down to your local DMV or your post office or whatever. They're all order followers. The government is all order followers. And they're dark, deep, and evil. And anybody associated with it is dark, deep, and evil. Can't be trusted. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. So I guess I'll leave it there today. I had to comment on those things. It would be nice if you subscribed to the channel and liked it, but at this point I guess it doesn't make a goddamn bit of difference because there's no action on it anyway. I don't know what's going on. People don't like truth, I guess. I've been beating this drum for years. People don't like truth. They don't like to be told what's really happening. Or let's say another whole different view of wisdom. Just remember this, Sophia is wisdom. In mysticism, in the Jewish or the ancient Kabbalah and stuff like that, it's called the Shekinah. It's the feminine energy that everybody's speaking about now. Feeling the feminine energy, the Shakti energy of the Shiva, or the god Shiva in his consort Shakti, or Thalite, I think it is, and Sophia, or the masculine and the feminine principles of the universe. Tune into the planetary union, planetary yoga, planetary tantra, a weaving. To weave. Tan means to weave. Weave yourself into the correct consciousness. Yeah, I'm a warrior too. I'm a spiritual person, but I'm a warrior. And I ascend and descend, or make an ass of myself and don't make an ass of myself. No, seriously, I do ascend and descend. I get downloads. I'm constantly hooked into the frequencies and rhythm of the planet and universe. And sometimes I like to impart things to people, but they're just too preoccupied, on YouTube especially, with having to have their mind excited instead of going within. So food for thought, people. I'm going to leave it there today, and I appreciate everybody that's out there. But if you're watching this channel, get off your butt, okay? And when you get good stuff that is advanced techniques on all kinds of levels that I've given you for raising your consciousness, that has come through my teachings for years, give it some time. Give it a moment of your time. Listen to what the words are that are being spoken. And take it into consideration and get off sucking the tit, okay, of mind excitation, which goes nowhere. The only place it's going to go anywhere is raising your consciousness and realizing the big picture. Realizing the love of Mother. For the love of Mother. Realize Mother. Wopila aho.